Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Hannah and let's talk Les Miserables. Ori is right behind me and he is dancing. I don't think you can see him very well though. So today is November 7th and it is the 1-year anniversary of my father passing away. On this day last year, I found out, had to quickly book a flight back to the US, and I ended up spending there a month to try to take care of all the paperwork, closing accounts, all the stuff that comes with someone passing. It was, oh gosh, it was so chaotic in the beginning because how I found out, that day was a Sunday and Toma and I were at D&D at our friend's house, and we play, like, it's literally underground. We call it, like, the dungeon. It's, like, where their kitchen area and dining room is, but, like, the walls are, like, rock and everything, and so it's really conducive to a D&D campaign. But there's no service down there. So my aunt and my grandma were sending me all these messages to get in contact with them, and were trying to get a hold of me for, like, several hours, but we were just where we weren't getting those messages. So basically we go to head home, and halfway home I just get all these messages at once. And my dad had, like, a few weeks before been injured on the job. He had injured, like, his thumb or something like that. And so I thought maybe it had something to do with that. Maybe he was gonna, like, lose his thumb kind of situation. I was just kind of like, okay, it's probably not worst case scenario, but something, like, not good exactly is probably happened. And we were actually, like, at McDonald's getting food to take home, and so I messaged them, like, we'll be home in literally a few minutes, I'll call you then. And we get home, I call them, and obviously it was worst case scenario. I think through the entire process and everything, that is what stands out to me the most, is the night that I found out he had died. And he wasn't, like, at the hospital or anything. It happened, like, at home, and it ended up being of heart failure, which wasn't exactly surprising, but he never even made it to 60. He never got to retire, and those are just things that kind of really hit you. And I didn't think I would tear up, but now I'm tearing up, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's the 1-year anniversary, and it doesn't feel as strange as I thought it would, but it still, like, doesn't feel like a normal day. Like, it almost kind of feels like I'm gonna get, like, horrible news again. It's a bit ominous, I guess. Oh, but also I almost forgot. I have this pillowcase to remember him by. I had a friend who sews actually make this for me. It is an old t-shirt of my dad's, and it was her idea to have the pocket on here. Like, it was something I didn't even think about, and have, like, the buttons down the middle and stuff. I love it, obviously, and I just thought it was just such a good idea, and it's something that I can just, like, hold on to remember him by, because I actually don't have any of his ashes here. They're all still in the US, just because I am honestly afraid of transporting them, because there are some horror stories of TSA, like, opening urns and stuff, and I'm just like, I can't go through that. So I just really didn't want to risk it in the end, but one day. So anyway, after that absolutely depressing opening there, and me just kind of babbling, we are going on a very, very different subject. We are still in the Paris sewers in here. And also, you can probably hear laundry in the back, as always, because apparently I always like to film when I'm in the middle of doing the laundry. So I did read 2 chapters today, and they're pretty short. There's not too much going on. The first chapter I read is called Ancient History of the Sewer, and I'm just gonna read from a few things here because there just really isn't really much to comment on about it. But this is on page 1064, and it says, the history of mankind is reflected in the history of the cloaca. The Geminae depicted Rome. The sewer of Paris was a formidable ancient thing, both sepulture and refuge. Crime, intelligence, social protest, liberty of conscience, thought and theft, everything that human laws pursue or have pursued has been hidden in it. The Maletins in the 14th century, the Tierlains in the 15th, the Huguenots in the 16th, the Illuminati in the 17th, the Chauffeurs in the 18th. A century ago, the nighttime dagger thrust came out of it. The footpad and danger vanished into it. The forest had its caves, and Paris had its sewer. The Tronderie, the Gaelic gypsy band, accepted the sewer as part of the court of miracles, and at night, cunning and ferocious, crouched under the Maubais vomitoria as in a bedchamber. And there's just these two short sentences I also wanted to say on the next page. It says, a sewer is a cynic. It says everything. And that's honestly pretty much it for that chapter. He pretty much just goes on to kind of like repeat the same ideas, just using different examples. And then we end up into chapter 3, which is called Bruneseau. And that's like the name of someone. And I didn't even realize till the end, because I kind of forgotten as I went along. But I'm going to start on page 1066 here. And it says, such was ancient Paris, the victim of quarrels, indecisiveness, and false starts. For a long time, it was stupid. Then the year 89 showed how sense comes to cities. But in the good old days, the capital had little discernment. She did not know how to order her affairs, either morally or materially, and could no more dispose of ordure than of abuses. Everything was difficult. Everything raised questions. The sewerage itself was opposed to any discipline. A course could not more be laid down for it than could agreement be reached in the town. Above was the unintelligible, below the inextricable. Beneath the confusions of tons lay the confusion of cellars, the labyrinth below Babel. Sometimes the Paris sewer chose to overflow, as though that hidden Nile were suddenly angry. There were infamous sewer floods, that stomach of civilization digested badly. The cloaca at times flowed back into the town, giving Paris a taste of bile. These parallels of sewage and remorse had their virtue. They were warnings, very badly received, it must be said. The town was angered by the audacity of its filth, and could not accept that its ordure should return. It must be better disposed of. And so then it goes into talking about some of the more, like, famous sewer floods, and it's pretty disgusting, obviously. And it also talks about how, like, way back when in, like, the 1500s kind of thing, the sewers were, like, open, and so there was always, like, plague going on, because obviously people were getting sick from all this waste just being there. And then the very end is talking about how, like, on a day in 1805, during one of the emperor's rare visits to Paris, there was, like, this gathering of all these military men and stuff, and it lists, like, all the different places they come from, how some had served under Napoleon, blah, blah, blah. But then it says, all the army, represented by a squad or a platoon, was there in that courtyard of the Tuileries, guarding Napoleon's rest. It was the splendid time when the Grande Armée had Marengo behind it, and Austerlitz ahead of it. Sire, said the minister to Napoleon, yesterday I saw the bravest man in your empire. Who is he? The emperor asked. And what has he done? It is what he wants to do, sire. What is that? To explore the sewers of Paris. That man's name was Bruneseau. And so that's where the name comes in, but they really don't mention it until the very end, because this whole chapter until the end has really nothing to do with him. And so the next chapter is called Unknown Details, and the first sentence says, the inspection took place. So it sounds like that's when they're going to go in and actually explore the sewers, because it talked about how, like, no one from the police or the army or anything would go down there for any reason before. So that's where I will start tomorrow. And for the rest of today, tonight we're actually going to dinner with our D&D group, because Kirsty and Joel, the people who moved to Dublin, they were here this weekend. And so we were able to do a D&D session in person, and they leave tomorrow. So tonight we're having, like, a farewell dinner kind of thing. So that's the plan for tonight, but besides that, like, I have no idea how this rest of this week is gonna go. Like, I'm really playing it by ear, and I think it's probably gonna be pretty chill. I know on Saturday, Toma has, like, Warhammer he's doing. I have, like, a list of, like, exhibitions and stuff I want to do that kind of go into, like, the end of the year, beginning of next year. So I might try to plan a bit around that and figure out when I want to do things. So yeah, starting the week off a bit of a sad and depressing note, and the weather is definitely suiting that. It's so dark and gray out right now. So until tomorrow. So today has been quite a day so far. Yesterday was the election in the US, and so today results are coming in. It's still probably going to be a while. Like, I don't think any of them were fully counted last time I looked or anything like that. But that's what I checked when I got up this morning, and that was a mistake, because that's kind of set the tone for the day, and it hasn't really been good. I got a lot of anxiety, my heart was racing, and I shed some tears. The map is way too red. And fortunately, the state I'm from, Michigan, they actually made all the good decisions, even though some of those were really close when they should not have been. Like the Democratic Governor Whitmer, she's still going to be the governor of Michigan. Abortion rights are going to be coded into the Michigan Constitution. So several things like that passed, and all good things happening there. However, the rest of the country, not exactly the same. And I haven't looked at any maps or anything since this morning, just because I'm honestly terrified, and I kind of went into a spiral this morning of like watching the news and reading like every article possible I could about what's happening. And so I can't get into that like doom and all is lost kind of mindset right now. So I'm probably going to wait until tomorrow to look at anything again, just especially since stuff's still being counted. So yeah, that's kind of going on, and it has not made me feel very good, that's for sure. One thing that's going to serve as a really good distraction is tonight, it is the release of the newest Black Panther movie, Wakanda Forever, I believe it's called. And we're going to go see that at 5 tonight at UGC Mayo. But I know I'm also gonna cry from this movie, and so it's just like, I don't want to cry again. I've already cried today. But that should be a good movie at least, and it'll definitely at least be a distraction, so that will be nice. But I did read 2 more chapters of Les Miserables today, and they're so short. There's just like nothing to say. Like, we're talking about the freaking sewer. Like, what the fuck? So the first one I read was called Unknown Details, and basically is just about this guy, Bruneseau, where he spent from the years 1805 to 1812 going through the sewers of Paris, and he would like mark where stuff needs to be like fixed or rebuilt, things like that. And so all that construction like took place then. And I thought it was funny. One of the things he noticed is that the stuff in the sewer that was built in the 1700s was already like crumbling into dust, whereas the stuff that was built in the 1400s was still going strong. And so it's like, even then they noticed that more modern stuff was made more crappily than it was like in the old days kind of thing. And so I thought that was kind of a funny observation. And it kind of talks about some of the like random shit they found, like under the Palais de Justice, they found like cells that had been like boarded up kind of thing. But some of them had like iron collars hanging from the ceiling. They found the skeleton of an orangutan that had escaped the Jardin des Plantes in the early 1800s. So there's just like all this random shit that they kind of found as they were going through it. And so it's just a few pages of that. And then the second chapter I read is called Present Progress. And it's literally just 1 page long. And this is on page 1071. It says, "Today the sewer is clean, cold, straight, and correct, almost achieving that ideal which the English convey by the word respectable." And that's really it about that one, is just talking about how it's so much cleaner than it used to be. The water runs more clear, like the waste is actually being taken care of like it's supposed to. And then in the very last paragraph, he just attributes that to Bruneseau. And so then the next chapter is called Future Progress. And so it's just like, what the hell? This just seems so arbitrary and random. And it turns out that's the last chapter. And so like, of that book. So that just feels so pointless. It's so weird. The chapters are so short. It's just like so unnecessary. I'm kind of surprised this section isn't what his like publisher told him to like take out. It's definitely odd. So at least I know I'll be finishing with that book before the end of the week, because I was scared that was just going to be this whole entire week was just talking about the freaking sewer. So that's everything for today, all the plans and everything. Tomorrow, there's actually going to be a huge transport strike here. Like, there's going to be a lot of metro lines that just are not open the entire day. So I cannot imagine how busy, like, line 1, for example, is going to be. So they literally warned people, like, if you can work from home, do it. So, like, Toma won't be going into his work tomorrow. He'll be staying here. And I'm sure a bunch of other people will. But boy, do I feel sorry for those that can't. And, like, I originally was thinking of going to a comedy show tomorrow night. But now it's like, yeah, nope, not dealing with that. So tomorrow's definitely just a stay home day, and I'll probably finish up that last chapter then. But basically, my mind feels like mush, and I just want to spend the rest of the day trying to feel more normal. It's actually a sunny day outside right now. It's pretty nice. Although it is still cold, as you can tell. I chose to be very, like, cozy and just be, like, wrapped up today. So today is the day of the big, the grève, what is it called in English? Strike, there we go. Really could not think of the word for a second. So today's the big day of the strike, And Toma actually decided, this is the day I'm gonna go out. And it's just like, why do that to yourself? Like, almost every metro line is closed. Ours is not, but there are a bunch of stations on our line that are completely closed. And the one he wants to go to is open, but it's in central Paris, so I'm kind of wondering how it's going to be when he gets there. I told him to keep me updated, so we'll see what happens with that. But last night, so if you've seen any of my vlogs where we go see a movie, you know that I always take like a little clip of like the movie poster, and I haven't shown it yet because I almost got fucking wrecked by a door. So I was like walking up to the thing, taking a little clip. It's literally just 4 seconds long, and the person like cleaning the theater just like flung the door open, and I was standing right next to it, and it was so close to hitting me. But in the video you can see when I jump, because how the video goes, and since I had like my thumb right over the thing, I ended up like accidentally tapping it, so the clip stops. But you can hear how loud this freaking door was, and it gave me a heart attack. I almost died. Like, it was so ridiculous. So I'll play that now, actually. So yeah, you can see how startling that was. But the movie itself, I knew I was gonna cry because Chadwick Boseman, or Boseman, I'm not exactly sure on his last name there, how to pronounce, but he, the original Black Panther, he actually passed away, and he really hid his diagnosis from the fans and stuff for a really long time, so no one really knew until the end kind of thing. And so the way the movie opens and everything is so freaking sad, and is obviously a tribute to him and everything. Like, when they do the Marvel logo, it's just all shots of him and it's silence. So I was crying through that entire opening. And there's one other moment too in the movie where I shed a few tears. So very, very sad, and very, very much a tribute to him. But everything else in the movie wasn't what I was expecting. It definitely wasn't the greatest Marvel movie. It was jumping all over the place, and the pacing was very weird. This felt more like a 3-hour-long movie. It was really, really long and felt very never-ending. So I don't know what rating I'm gonna give it in the end. I just realized I haven't like done a review on Letterboxd or anything yet. But I think I would call it a disappointment based on the expectations. But the sad scenes were done well. And so besides that, I did read my chapter in Les Miserables today, so the sewer chapters are completed. And that whole section wasn't near as bad as I was expecting from how often I've seen people criticize it. Like, I feel like the whole Waterloo thing and the chapter, or the book, I should say, on the like convent and stuff, I feel like that was way worse. And there's Fuzz. And so the last chapter I read here was called Future Progress. And there's really not much to say here. It was talking about like how, oh, this many meters of the sewer was built when this person reigned, and just like listing that. And so as of like January 1st, 1806, there had been 226,610 meters, or 60 leagues of sewers built in Paris. And then it goes on to kind of talk about how building it was rough because trying to like dig underneath the town was very difficult because of the terrain and everything, and there was just always like problems coming up and things like that. But then it goes on to talk about how unhygienic the sewer was for a really long time, since parts of it were just open. And like, if you remember earlier in the book, there was like this huge outbreak of cholera for like a month, and I think Victor Hugo is blaming the sewers here. But this is on page 1075. It is the last like 2 paragraphs of this chapter kind of thing. And it says, "It has been scientifically demonstrated that air taken from immediately above a dung heap is purer than the air of Paris. In time, with the aid of progress, perfected mechanisms, and fuller knowledge, the layer of water will be used to purify the layer of air, that is to say, to cleanse the sewer. By cleansing the sewer, we mean to return of mire to the earth, of manure to the soil, and fertilizer to the fields. This simple fact will bring about a decrease in misery, an increase in health for the whole community. As things are, the maladies of Paris spread some 50 leagues from the Louvre. Taking this as the hub of the pestilential wheel, it may be said that for 10 centuries the sewer has been the disease of Paris, the evil in the city's blood. Popular instinct has never doubted it. The trade of sewage worker was more perilous and nearly as repugnant to the people as the trade of executioner, and held in abhorrence. High wages were needed to induce a mason to vanish into that fetid ooze. To go into the sewer is to go into the grave, men said. All sorts of legends covered that colossal sink with horror, that dreadful place which bears the impress of the revolution of the earth and of men, in which the remains of every cataclysm is to be found, from the flood to the death of Marats. And that is how that book ends. So then we are now to book 3, Meyer, but the Soul. And the first chapter is called The Cloaca and Its Surprises. So now we are talking about the sewer, but at least Jean Valjean is there, because literally the first sentence is, Jean Valjean was in the Paris sewer. And there's just really not a lot left of this book. I have like 100 pages. It's so crazy. So that's where I'm going to end today. What is today? Thursday. God, earlier today I thought it was Wednesday, and Tomo was thinking it was Friday. Like, what is time, really? And with that, I am finally going to get myself some lunch.
Torti! Oh, the face. I see you. Torti always has to watch what is happening over here. Oh, look at you, tiny girl.
What is this dragon's name again?
Well, Cronus.
Oh, is it Cronus?
Karazai, depending.
Well, which one are you using?
You can do both, but probably Cronus.
The supervisor approves. Oh, big stink yawn.
Ignore the pile of blankets over there. It is like mid-afternoon and I still haven't made the bed yet. So once again, my days are very mixed up. I was trying to think back to the last time I filmed and I was like, oh, I don't think I said anything about like the Black Panther movie or anything yet. I don't think I talked about that. Because I'm like, that would have been Wednesday night. So yeah, I wouldn't have filmed yet. Because for some reason I'm thinking today's Friday, not the Saturday that it actually is. But I already did that. Like, it's really frustrating. But I didn't film yesterday because I really wasn't feeling well. Like, usually headaches aren't my thing. Usually it's pain everywhere else. But the past, like, week and a half, I have just been dealing with the worst headaches. And it makes my brain feel like mush. So, like, all I did yesterday was just play video games to try to distract me from that pain kind of thing. I also haven't been sleeping the greatest, so it's just been not a fun time. But in other news, look at the mug I got today at the store. It has tanukis on it. That one's there. It looks like he's holding, like, radishes or something. And then there's 2 on this side. And if there could, like, here, let's see. Oh, no, there's still a glare. Can we not have glare? It has to be reflection from the window then or something. But yeah, tanuki mug, and it has like a bamboo lid, and the spoon has a little paw on it and stuff, so it's just really cute. I noticed they had these the last time we were in there, but I didn't notice until we were leaving, and so I definitely had to go look at them. And yeah, I thought maybe it would come with like hot chocolate or something, but instead it actually came with like a dessert book for like Asian desserts. And I've already kind of glanced through this, so there's a few things I'm curious about trying to make at some point. But yeah, really cute. Brought my spirits up a bit. I'd gone outside to actually play Pokemon Go because it's community day, so there's like shiny Pokemon and stuff. And I did that, and then went to like Monoprix and got the mug and stuff for dinner, because today Toma's actually out playing Warhammer. It's like part of the campaign he's in. So he's doing 2 matches today, and I haven't heard anything yet, so I'm assuming the first match isn't over, but I really don't know. But I feel like all my expectations for like what I want to get done in the apartment for like the past 2 weeks have just been like non-existent. Like, they never happen. The days never go how I plan them to be. And so right now I'm just gonna read my chapters of Les Miserables, come back in, check in with you guys, and hopefully the good vibes just kind of keep on going, because I feel like I really need that at the moment. Okay, I just read 2 chapters because the second one was actually really short, and wow, I'm really realizing how freaking tired I am right now. Anyway, the first chapter I read was the first chapter of book 3, I believe it was, or is. Yes, and it's called The Cloaca and Its Surprises, and I'm going to read the first few paragraphs here. This is page 1076, and it says, Jean Valjean was in the Paris sewer, and here is another resemblance between Paris and the sea. As with the sea, the diver can vanish into it. The change was unbelievable. In the very heart of the town, Valjean had left the town. In a matter of moments, the time to lift a lid and let it fall, he had passed from daylight into total darkness, from midday to midnight, from tumult to silence and the stillness of the tomb, and, by a chance even more prodigious than that in the Rue Polonceau, from utmost peril to absolute safety. He stayed for some moments listening, as though in a stupor. The trap-door of salvation had suddenly opened beneath him. Celestial benevolence had in some sort caught him by betrayal, the wonderful ambushes of Providence. Meanwhile, the injured man did not move, and Valjean did not know whether his burden was living or dead. And so this is talking about how Valjean starts to move around the sewer, and basically he just kind of has one arm on like a wall because vision is very limited. It goes from like where he can't see anything to where he can just see like small things. And so he has Marius like over his shoulders, like Marius's arms are like over him, they're like cheek to cheek, and his feet are dangling down behind him, and he's using one hand to like hold Marius's arms around him, and he's using the other like on the wall to go forward. Obviously it's a sewer, it doesn't smell great, the floor is wet and slippery, and he's just trying to make his way through, and where he thinks he is, like what he thinks the road is above him, is not correct. He's like avoiding smaller passageways, assuming that those would be dead ends, and Victor Hugo says he would be right in assuming that kind of thing. And so he just spends like half an hour just fumbling around in the darkness like that. And at the end of the chapter, he sees this lantern with like 8 to 10 people around it, and he just kind of like goes up against the wall and goes in the shadows kind of thing. And he's like so messed up at this moment, he doesn't even realize it's like people, but he just knows he has to like not be seen by them. And that's where the chapter ends. And then it kind of goes into that group's point of view in the next chapter, which is called Explanation. And pretty much these people, there were like 3 squads put into the sewer to kind of catch any like escaping rebels or anything. But it seems like the people doing it don't exactly care as much. And at first they were hearing his footsteps, and so that's what they were going towards, but then he stops and they don't hear it anymore, so they're like, oh, there must just be nothing there. So then they basically just turn around and go back the way they came kind of thing. And so this is the last paragraph of that chapter on page 1080. It says, the sergeant gave the order to go left towards the Seine. If they had divided into 2 parties and followed both directions, Valjean would have been captured. It was as near as that. Probably, to guard against the possibility of an encounter with a number of rebels, they had been ordered not to separate. They turned away, leaving Valjean behind, but all he knew of it was the sudden vanishing of the lantern. For a long time he stayed motionless with his back to the wall, hearing the receding echo of that spectral patrol. And that's where we end this week. Valjean is deep in the sewer, and honestly I was expecting him to run across the Thénardier, and that could still be a possibility because I believe that actually happens in the movie, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe he even sees Javert again. I can't remember who it is, if it's Thénardier or Javert. But we'll see. And also I'm kind of curious to see how long the story leaves him in the sewer. But once again, Jean Valjean is just a complete badass in being able to do this. Like, everything he does in this book is just way too impressive. But as always, thank you for hanging out with me. It is always appreciated. And until next time, bonne journée and au revoir.